well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment.
So once again, that was my favorite reading of our nation's Second Amendment with Charlton Heston. I never get tired of hearing that reading from him. This is Joe, and Leigh is with me again today, and we are
good to be back.
It is good to be back. It's been a little while. We're going to talk about my recent visit to SHOT Show for the first time. Unfortunately, Leigh wasn't able to go with me, but I did make the journey out to Las Vegas to attend SHOT Show for my very first time, and I was very excited to do it.
I was excited for you.
Thank you.
Pretty cool.
I had wanted to go for a few years, obviously with it being not open to the public. I had never had the chance until we started doing this, and we have the website 2atoday.us and qualified as media. So kind of jumped on that opportunity to go do something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, that's a great thing. So yeah, could you sort of paint the picture about where did you go, where was it held?
Sure.
And then just what that the check-in process and what the feeling was like, going there and getting in there for the first time.
Sure. So it was in Las Vegas, and if I recall correctly, it started in Vegas and it's always been in Vegas. I don't think it's been at any other destination. In what I call the backside of the Venetian, there's a huge banquet facility. It's set up to be able to welcome and host multiple conventions at the same time. There's big ballrooms. I personally am not a person that seeks to go to Las Vegas. It's just not my town. But that's where the convention was. So, and they have everything streamlined really good. You can tell they've been doing it for a while because they send you QR codes, you scan things, you take pictures. They follow up with you to verify emails. So when we actually show up to pick up our badges, I held my phone in front of them with the QR code that they had sent me. They scan it, and there's a printer right there. It prints out the badge. They hand it to you, and it's literally seconds. And then you're part of the, I think we went in as part of the media, and we were at our first SHOT Show. Watching some of the things leading up to SHOT Show, it is Las Vegas's 5th largest convention.
Okay.
And I would like to know what the other 4 are, because this thing is huge. It's 840,000 square feet of booths. And obviously some of the booths and displays are set up on a very large scale. FN, Glock, Smith & Wesson, your bigger names in the gun community.
All right, so hold on. So how do you get into the venue?
Just literally take...
Were you sort of like walking out is it on the Strip? So are you...
No, Venetian's on the Strip.
Okay.
And this is kind of on the back side of it.
Okay.
So
So you come in off the street and...
It's, in my eyes, it's marvelous.
Yeah.
Even the front doors.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because I really want to sort of paint for the people at home. There's some of us that'll never be able to go. There's some people that would want to go but can't, or... I'm trying to paint a picture for the listeners.
So I was really excited. I really was. So be like if you're dropping somebody off at, say, Terminal 1 at O'Hare Airport.
Yep.
But it's all just a glass front.
Yes.
And everything that's glass, including the doors, have some type of sponsorship. There's stickers, decals, wraps for anything and everything related to the outdoors world. A lot of archery stuff. There was a lot of knife stuff. So a lot of knife representation, but everything is sponsorship from the moment you get out of that cab. You're on the side. I was on the sidewalk, and I'm just looking, and it makes me smile just because of how passionate I am about some of this stuff. I felt like it was my Disney World.
Yeah.
And then you walk in, and then it's just a bunch of the same. Seeing people with if they're there representing a company, a lot of people obviously wearing, polo shirts or T-shirts and, company names, everything from the black rifle with the coffee stuff to ammunition stuff. Right inside the door, it's just a flurry of activity, because that's kind of especially on the first day, because I did not realize this. You can actually go there and apply to be media the day of. I don't think I would do that out of fear that I don't get approved. And then I'm out in Vegas without anything to do. Right. They have I would go as far as saying dozens of stations set up. Everything is marked really well for...
So there were quite a few people coming there as media that were signing up the day of.
Yes, and there was a lot of media there from around the world. A lot of magazine companies, stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah, stuff like that. But once you get your badge, and once you're technically in the convention center, it's just kind of up to you. I got a little frustrated with some of the signage due to my misinterpretation. So that was on me. But they have like a new product area where maybe it's a brand new company or a company that's been around and they have like something they really want to focus on. They have a whole area, I'm assuming the companies pay for it, and they put brand new products just right inside. So that was essentially the first place we visited. Saw a couple things that were interesting, one of which really intrigued or piqued my wife's interest because of related to medical things. But then you come out of there and it's just a function of which way do you want to go, because it's multiple stories. You can go, left or right. It's so spread out because it needs to be, because of the sheer volume, that then it's just like, let's start here. And literally went in one of the ballrooms. And
so let's just back up. The first things that you went to look at, what was it?
we went to that new product area.
Yeah. And what'd you see there?
Some of the stuff I saw, some of it was geared towards military and law enforcement. And although it's somewhat relevant and sometimes I find it interesting, the law enforcement and military segment of the show is pretty large. And because that's not what I was really there for, that's not really what the website is designed for, I look at it, I notice it, I don't spend a lot of time on it. What I did see in the, what I would say the normal 2A community, not law enforcement, seems to be a pretty good trend of thermo sites.
It seems to be the hot ticket right now.
So there were plenty of manufacturers that were showcasing their latest, I'm going to mess it up sometimes and call it a red dot because that's just what it looks like. Enclosed, though, because it takes up a little bit more space, so it looks almost more like an EOTech, or I forget Hollison's model. They have one that it looks like it's a box on top of your firearm.
Like an enclosed emitter.
Correct.
Yep.
But it's all based around thermal imaging, and it's some of it's pretty impressive. And with it being pretty new, and with how quickly technology advances, with where it's starting, I'm really intrigued to see where it's going to be in a couple years.
Yeah.
Because technology advances so quickly, and these companies put so much money into being the newest and latest and first, that I think some of this infrared and thermal imaging that's going to be available to the consumers on the open market, for whether it's rifle or even, I mean, some of it's even just for pistols. It's going to be really anxious or real exciting to see where some of that goes.
There's a whole cool factor to the thermal imaging and sighting systems. I know in 2005 when I was in Iraq on my sniper weapon system, I was lucky enough to have a thermal sight, and the capability sometimes that it gave me really was amazing. And I think if you've ever watched, Predator or,
Sure.
any, sort of sci-fi-ish film, or it, it really is like this, it's this technological thing. Gosh, if I even think back, a good long time ago, wasn't there like, did you ever see the Navy SEALs movie with not Martin Sheen, Charlie Sheen?
Oh yeah, one of the most realistic.
It wasn't
Army
there.
films. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, and then there's there's like the thermal, and I think everybody, has, something that they've seen, or every guy who's into
Bill
guns has
Paxton.
probably seen something. Yeah.
His name, I think they called him God. 'cause he was
Ah,
always on
yeah. Now
Overwatch.
it's bringing it back.
Yeah,
So
he had some pretty cool toys.
right. Yeah. So so I could see where people are going to be, and I've seen it in the hunting realm with people with hunting hogs.
I think that's where it's probably
bios,
most
things at
relevant.
night.
I mean, it's so much, and shame on me for being a little closed-minded at times. I have to, kind of check myself when I look
Why?
at something, because most of the stuff I look at, I look at through the lens of self-defense.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there thinking, who in the hell wants to take any time to switch their optic to thermal in a self-defense situation? That's where my mind went right away.
It would be a shit hits the fan scenario.
Right. And then it doesn't take long for me to realize there's a whole plethora of applications that have nothing to do with self-defense.
True that. Yeah.
So, but that's kind of where my mind tracks automatically right away. And to be honest with you, so Tuesday was our first day, and I don't want to say I wasted the first half of the day, but I was so overwhelmed and I'll say scatterbrained. I was walking around without any sort of plan. And I went there with the plan. And I just went there, and
And the plan sort of went out the window.
Right
and
out the
started,
window.
Was it because of the magnitude of it? Like, there's just so much.
There's so much of it, and one thing
Were things that you didn't expect? Or there's something that you were like, oh, I didn't expect that, and that got you sort of sidetracked?
No, the sheer volume.
Okay.
Yeah, but then also a lot of it's broken up. It's compartmentalized. So it's in this room, it's in that ballroom. You have to, not go down a hall, but maybe like cross a hallway to go into another ballroom. And I didn't necessarily realize all of that ahead of time. And what I think SHOT Show could make one improvement on, they have a ton of maps set up all over the place. And they're thorough, they're complete, they're large enough to read, but they don't tell you where you are on that map. So sometimes if you've gotten turned around and you're lost in this maze of awesomeness, and you find a map and you're like, okay, this is where I need to go. I don't know if I need to turn left.
Map
or right.
reading 101. You have to know where you are.
Exactly. But it took me a half a day to get my bearings. Yeah, and then I realized I hadn't thought about conducting one interview. So basically, at one point, I realized I was not being very methodical. I was doing more wandering, almost as just a person that was there to look and enjoy and observe the show as a consumer, and not necessarily there from like a media perspective. So after I realized that I wanted to kind of shift the way I was doing things, there's a media room there. We went to the media room. My wife sat down. She wanted to stay there for a little while to do some homework. And then I went back and I kind of refocused, and I wanted to make sure I went to some of these booths and started talking to whether it be a representative or the proprietor, to talk to them about what they were bringing to SHOT Show, about the company and why. So the first day wasn't necessarily as efficient as I would have liked it to have been, but I also think kind of going there, getting a little overwhelmed, pulling back, for me was almost necessary, because everybody had told me, the people we had talked to, they're like, you're going to be overwhelmed. Like, there's just that much stuff. And they weren't wrong. What I will say is, as I'm walking around, I just started to see people that I recognized. There's a really popular guy, Hickok45 on YouTube.
Yes. Ran
into him, just chat with them just for a second. Didn't do an interview, anything like that. Just chatted, man to man. And there's plenty of that. I watch a lot of those gun shows, Gun and Gear, stuff like that. And you're seeing a lot of those people. And any of the YouTube people, they're all there either doing interviews or representing or being a spokesperson for a company. So it was...
So that adds to the excitement.
That adds to the excitement. And one of the things I noticed that you have actually brought up is that you do a lot of training here in your home, and you've never really felt uncomfortable with the people that you've brought in.
Not so far.
And it's been a long time, right?
It has,
10, 12 years, something like that?
I'm not like high volume.
But
I certainly have had, in fact, it's been quite the opposite, right? Most people I would consider friends. Yeah.
And this show kind of reinforces that. I don't know if on a larger scale, the 2A community is more principled or respectable, or however you want to maybe pigeonhole it or describe it. But there's a certain amount of courtesy and respect that I don't know the volume of people, but we're talking tens of thousands of people. And it just seemed like everybody's so polite and respectful and very much excited to be there also. And that was a little refreshing, because it seems like just maybe from a percentage.
It seems like, sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah.
It seems like there's several layers to that, right? The one layer is that they're responsible, law-abiding firearms owners. Not everyone, there's constitutional carry and
right.
But some places have, like Illinois has background checks. But so you have the layer of just sort of like just firearms ownership requires responsibility, conscientiousness, and then you have the additional thing that it's a trade show. So these are all people who have some kind of business related to the field. Not that that's always
sure
insurance policy of not being kooky, but
no, and
I think by and large you're going to have people that are
not
have got things
public.
going for them, yeah.
and it's not open to the public, so you're you're not just.
right.
But in an environment like that, I pay attention again quite a bit. I was never concerned about a pickpocket. Anything like that. It was a great environment with a great community. My biggest complaint about the whole thing is they definitely make their money on the concessions.
Oh, really?
Liza and I got an energy drink. Liza grabbed a draft beer. It was $32. But I guess
I think the last time I was in Vegas was around 2002.
Yeah.
Maybe later than that. Sorry, that's wrong. 2008, and the prices were.
Yeah, and when
I remember hearing stories about Vegas, like things were cheap, like food and drink, and then I went and I was like, that's not true.
I don't think on the Strip anymore.
Yeah,
I don't think anywhere on the Strip.
That's common knowledge now.
You get over on the old downtown Fremont Street, or you get out in some of the outlying areas. I'm sure there's still the $23 steak and lobster and $2 gambling tables and stuff like that. The Strip is all pretty big dollar. In Venetian, the hotel that hosted this, it's one of the the higher end hotels in Vegas. And I understand they have to make their money, and without them being able to make their money, there isn't the venue to have the convention there. So I understand it. I get it, but I also brought plenty of my own water.
The facilities are fantastic out there. I have to say that. Going to a bathroom, whatever you have to do, like things are really clean, maintained.
And they have a lot of stuff dialed in. Even just getting a taxi, whether you're talking about from the airport to the hotel to the venue. The city of Chicago can learn a lot from doing a case study on Vegas and just seeing efficiencies. I mean, everything in Vegas is, like you said, it was clean. It was, it was top notch. Nothing's broken. After I got back in the airport, going to run to the restroom at O'Hare, there's water running across the floor and stuff like that. I'm just like, I'm back.
So sad.
It is, because it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
That's probably a different podcast for a different channel. So, then after I got my bearings, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I focused on talking to plenty of people, and I didn't get an enormous amount of interviews. I think I got about 10, maybe 12. I think it was 10, but talked to a lot of different people. And sometimes, I'm not going to mention who it is yet, but it's somebody that both you and I would enjoy speaking with. I didn't go there with a lot of interviews set up. A lot of it was just impromptu, going up to a booth, going, hey, do you have a minute? Is somebody available to talk about maybe a featured item or the one item that you guys brought to the convention? And some of these people gave me like media packets, and they're like, well, here, email so-and-so, and they probably will be a guest on the podcast. So made a lot of contacts, talked to a lot of people. I have to thank my wife, because although she's into the same stuff, not to the degree I am, and she fully supported me just running around SHOT Show like a kid at a candy store.
Wow, I can almost see it. All right, so there you are. And then you find the first place you sent on your list to me was
Target Tack, I think.
I'm here at SHOT Show with Ben of Target Tack. Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you brought here?
Yeah, so we brought a reusable, durable, American-made Target Tack that is a superior choice for hanging and suspending targets at the range, whether you're shooting firearms, archery, air guns, across cardboard, plastic, polyfusion blocks, layered foam, and also even straw-style type butts.
And on your display here, it looks like it's very versatile, because it doesn't matter the size of the target, because you're plugging it in. You're basically replacing the staple gun, is that right?
Correct, yes. It's replacing the staple guns, the waste that's created by staples, the messy spray glue and tape, even metal clamps. When you shoot those up, they also ricochet, cause bullet fragmentations. We designed our Target Tacks so that it minimizes any kind of ricochet, and if you do hit one, okay, you're a good shot, but it's not going to cause that bullet fragmentation.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Up on your display here, you've got a couple other flags, and those aren't holding up targets. What are those designed for?
Yeah, so we decided this year to reveal a new product line called the Target Tack Snap System. We have a proprietary connector that snaps into the eyelet of our Target Tack head, and from there we can provide, or we are providing, additional accessories. One is a wind indicator, so that way you can see downrange which way wind is going, and you can actually flip it or move it into a direction off target so that you can see wind in 4 directions. The other thing we've done is created a lane and target identifier where you can have a placard, whether you put a number, it could be a placard of a different color to shut the range down, or say the range is live. You know, it's customizable based on what you want to do for target identification. You could potentially use this product for target discrimination, but we'll talk about that maybe in a year or so. And then the last thing is bringing sponsorship to the target. You know, really when folks walk down range to retrieve their arrows or look at their shot groups, there's a perfect opportunity to have sponsorship right on that target. We've got a little placard here that's a business card size that you can actually put sponsorship branding, or if you want to do team branding and you have team events and you want either a team logo, team color, that kind of thing.
I like that feature a lot on display here. That's a really nice feature, because as people are shooting at their target and they're walking back and forth, they're focused on this. So traditionally you see, like, I'm going to call them yard signs.
Yep.
But a lot of times once you start, that's behind you, and that's not really visualized anymore. So I really like that feature, or that option. Let me ask you this. What made you start the company? How did all of this come about?
Well, I have a chuckle because we have a few backyards up in Maine, and one at our house. So I'm out back one day, and my first time getting into shooting was when I was 14 and bought my Marlin 22. It was a 25 round tube 22. Had a lot of fun. Then got into a Bear compound bow. So thankfully, my dad got me into shooting very early on. After the military, you know, I just love shooting anything and everything in terms of whether it's targets, you know, whether you go hunting. And so for us, I was just having a frustrating day trying to keep my target in place. It was windy, the weather wasn't great, and I said I had enough with staples. So my wife came out and said, hey, you know, what's wrong here? And she heard me cussing. You know, I don't cuss too much, but, you know, something like that will make you cuss. She said, well, we got grandkids, you can't be cussing. Go invent something. And I said, is this one of your honeydew challenges? And she kind of looked at me and said, well, maybe. Well, I thought about it. I gave it some thought because, you know, shooting across different substrates with firearm archery and airgun trajectories, there isn't really anything out there that works well across all of them. And I came back and said, honey, I think we got the cuss-free gadget.
Gotcha. As you're talking about that and I'm looking at it, it made me think of something. Typically when you staple a target on, there's not a lot of surface area. So if it's a windy day, I've experienced where the wind actually tears the target away from the staple, but this looks like it spreads the I'm going to call the pressure against the target out. I'd have to imagine this is much more sturdy than using staples.
Yeah, way more sturdy. The surface at the bottom of the Target Tack head provides what you were saying. And then we've got a serrated edge, which is nothing like on the market today. These are patent pending. And when you lock that in, you could go into the same hole multiple times and it'll still grip. And then after a while, if that hole is being worked, you can turn it a quarter turn, and then now you've got a different side of that serrated edge gripping it for continued use.
That's great. That is excellent. And for anyone that wants to find this product, what's the best way for them to do that?
So there's a few different ways. If you're a consumer purchasing it, you can just go to targettack.com, Target and then Tack, T-A-C-K. Put the two words together, targettack.com. If you're looking to resell, we've got some great premier distribution partners. We have Sports South LLC. We have Lancaster Archery Supply. And if you're into government or military from a contracting side, we have Caprice Electronics, Inc. Any one of those distributors will take care of you. There are, right now and growing, we've got 68 resellers across the country. We've got some outside of the country in Canada and Australia right now as well. We're continuing to grow, but if you are a wholesale and want to resell Sports South LLC, Lancaster Archery Supply, and Caprice Electronics, Inc., CEI.
That's great. That's real good information. It looks like a great product. And Ben, I want to thank you for the time.
Thank you.
You have a good one.
Joe.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, so that was my first interview at SHOT Show, and I have to tell you quickly about Ben and his wife. The nicest people. Wow. They were so gracious. Obviously, I was very appreciative that they took the time to give an interview. They were super, super nice. I haven't used the product yet. They did give me a couple to try out, so after I use them a little bit, there will be a review on the page. And initially, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great option. There's only 2 instances where I think that product might not work, and that's if anybody is stapling to wood. If anybody has a backer to their target that is wood.
Right. Where you have some kind of plywood butt or backer.
Right, where it's a solid surface.
Yes.
You're going to have to keep resorting to the staple gun. And then I believe, I don't want to speak out of turn, so I'm not going to say which one, but I believe in Range Out West, some of their pistol targets, they set up, it almost looks like rubber as a backer, like old conveyor belts.
Okay.
And whatnot, and I don't think those tacks would penetrate that rubber. It's so dense. Again, you would have to resort to using a staple gun.
Yeah, looking here, there's a 1 3/4 full length of the sort of spike, for lack of a better word, and then there's the star-shaped part that would actually poke through the target. That's about 1 inch long, with looks like maybe 4 or 5/8 inch barbs.
Yeah.
And that's what holds the target in place. And then, like you said, it's got that surface area, that disc-shaped top where you would hold on and push it in, would hold your target a little bit tighter to less chance of it ripping through a staple. Like you said, in a windier condition.
Correct. And
less chance of that
and I liked
happening if you're using staples.
And on display, they obviously have it set up where you can use it. So I was playing with it a little bit, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I definitely see the practical use of the product itself. And then I also like the you can tell he doesn't want to stop innovating, right? So he's got the different product. I
like some of the ideas he's got.
The ability to hang a flag. So if you're doing any sort of distance shooting and wind is going to be a factor, got that option to market to people, which I think is not just market to people, it's applicable. It's a good idea. And then the one to put like a business card or a sponsorship for some of the charity shootings I go to. Different businesses will sponsor a different stage, whether it's skeet shooting or any of the pistol stuff. So it's nice that he's got that also to go out there and offer to market. But I'm definitely going to use them. I think they have their place.
$10.95 for 6.
I didn't even, to be honest with you, I didn't even look at the price. So it's very reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely, it's very reasonable. $10.90, and I'm sure that as long as you don't shoot them, they're reusable for forever.
Yeah, even on the backers. So as I'm going to say playing or demonstrating the use of them, even if you want your targets to be consistent, so you're using the same holes, the way he's designed this is that if the hole you've been using to push this tack into the backer to keep the target in place starts to, maybe it's getting honed a little bit, so it's getting to be a gap, you can turn this a little bit, and barbs is a perfect word to put the way those things adhere to the targets.
Yeah.
Then your barbs are lining up in a different spot, and you can just keep reusing them.
I think we should try them out and do a podcast afterwards.
Definitely. I did tell him that I'd be honored, happy to review them. I did explain that that's obviously something for us that's outdoor, and right now it's cold. And any reviews I do, I've told everybody they're going to be candid. If I don't like it, if I see problems with it, I'm going to state what those are. But also right now, it's probably going to be 2 months or so before we get to go to the outdoor range and use these in the fashion that we would to get an honest opinion of using them.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good one.
So we're at the space booth, and I'm here with Oscar, and he is going to tell us about one of the products they have here. Oscar, what am I looking at?
So this is the Space Safe 2. It's the most advanced and secure safe ever created for everyday people. Basically, this is a smart safe. It's a safe that connects to your cell phone, and it keeps you connected at all times. If anything happens on your safe, you get a notification. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, if somebody tries to access your safe, then you will always get a notification.
So this could be used, like you said, everyday lifestyle. It doesn't have to be for firearms, but it could be. It looks like you have an accessory here if somebody wants to store a couple pistols. Is that correct?
Exactly. And so one of the features that we have also on the safe, it's a touchscreen safe. It has biometrics and it has cameras. It has cameras on the outside and the inside. So if you get a notification that somebody tries to access your safe, maybe you have a pistol inside, maybe one of your kids is trying to access it. I know that everybody knows my PIN code, you know. I'm sure you use the same one,
right,
and you have kids that know your PIN code. So if you want to see what's going on and they try to access this thing, you have cameras inside and outside. And the beauty is, if you wanted to also do like a super lockout, then what you're able to do, you're able to use 2FA with either a fingerprint and a PIN, or like Google Authenticator and a PIN or a pattern.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the questions I think people normally gravitate to when you come into like the smart technology is some of the technology failing.
Yeah.
So if there's an issue, is there a secondary way to get in there with keys? How reliable is the technology allowing the person to gain access?
Wow, great question. So number one, the safe has to be connected to power at all times. If the safe power dies, meaning you have a blackout or anything like that, there's a backup battery inside, and it'll power up to 24 hours.
Okay. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good length.
In terms, and we're always improving it. We're making improvements all the time. In terms of what happens if the safe goes down or you need to get in, we provide 3 keys. Normally you get 2 keys. We give 3 keys. And you could always use your keys at any time that you wanted to. If we do have issues with the safe, the beauty is we've built out this software of the safe. It's all ours. Everything is ours. And we offer over-the-air updates. That means that...
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we're constantly...
I'm sorry to interrupt, because it's hooked up to Wi-Fi for your notifications, your safe is connected and it can receive those updates.
Exactly. And so we're always rolling out with new features that customers ask us to roll out with, or if we find bugs, we are constantly updating the system.
Gotcha. One thing that people can't see, because this is audio, but I love it, is that it's a large screen. What size is that? 10-inch screen.
And the whole front is glass.
Okay.
Right.
And what I like is the way you kind of disguise this. It doesn't look like a traditional safe because there's not the keypad on the front. It's a very sleek design. One of the ones that's on display here, it looks like the face of a radio.
Yes.
So just walking into an office or a bedroom, it's not going to jump out that this is a safe.
Exactly.
And then another one set up over here, it looks like it's a printer. The options to have a 3-in-1 printer. So you're also kind of hiding in plain sight with that.
Exactly.
And with the sleek design, I mean, you can just about put this anywhere if you need or want to maybe keep firearms in the living room or the family room, or in different areas of the house. It doesn't have to be up in a closet somewhere. So I really like that.
Thank you. You hit it right on the nail.
Yeah.
You really did. And so another thing, so we were talking, people can't see it, but they're screensavers. That's what we call them, lock screens. They're screensavers that display. And if you don't like one of our presets, one of them is also weather, by the way, if you want to see the weather for every day and the time and calendar events that you have from your phone.
And is that real time?
It's real time.
That's not a fake screen.
That's real.
It's a
weather
gotcha.
And calendar is real. It's pulling information. But if you don't like any of those presets, you could actually set your own screen. So if you want to put a picture of your family, you could do that.
Gotcha. So now, do you sell through wholesalers? Do you go direct to consumer? If somebody is interested in learning more about this, I'm assuming you have a website they can go to.
Yes.
But then where would they also purchase one?
Yeah, great question. So we sell to wholesalers and we sell to distributors and we sell on our website primarily. Hopefully this year we'll be in retailers. This is a new thing for us from this year. So hopefully it'll be in retail starting this year. If not, you could go to our website. It's www.thespacesafe.com. Again, it's thespacesafe.com.
Gotcha. We'll be sure and check it out. And Oscar, I really appreciate the time. I like your product. I'm going to check it out myself.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
thespacesafe.com is the website. I call it an everyday safe because it doesn't have to just be used for firearms. It could be used for firearms. It's easily set up for firearms. It's a great looking product. I like a lot of what they have going on there. I'll be the first to come out and just say it. I don't love the price. It is not inexpensive.
Yeah, I'm seeing $999 on there.
It's $1,000, and it's basically a tabletop safe.
Yeah, you're looking at sort of the look at it. Looks like a microwave oven almost.
Well, and that's one of the things I really
Small
like about it.
microwave oven.
Yeah, a small microwave.
You wouldn't necessarily look at it as a safe, especially if it was in an enclosure of any kind, like if it was in a cabinet, sort of like where it would. By cabinet, I mean like the screen would be exposed, but the sides of it would be enclosed in some kind of cabinet. It would not.
Depending on its location, I kind of think that you might assume it's something else, just depending on what room you have it in. If I were to put it in my office, they have a screensaver,
Yeah.
and it shows like pictures of ink cartridges with like different levels of ink, and it says like 3 in 1.
Oh yeah, it could look like a printer.
When we walked up to it, the first thing me and my wife both thought was like, why is there a printer? Just and it hides in plain sight really, really well. I actually like the safe a lot. The ability to set up dual verification for entry.
Yep.
A camera on the outside to see who's approached it, a camera on the inside, so once it's open, you can see what has happened in the safe. The ability for them to do over-the-air updates if there's different screensavers or different verifications that come out. It's not large, so when you start talking about spending $1,000 on a safe, $1,000 gives you a lot of options on safes to buy. But keeping your stuff secure is also really important. So I guess some of that comes down to how do you plan on doing that? And if you are in an office and there's not necessarily a closet and you do want to keep, whether it's valuables or a firearm in your office, and you don't want people to know, I have a firearm in my office, it would be very easy to set it up as a like he said, with a weathers or a calendar page. It almost, depending on how you set it up, could look just like a tablet sitting on a shelf, depending on how you expose the sides. So I really like the product itself. I think it has a lot going for it. I do also think, again, with technology as it advances, the possibility of maybe lowering that price, being able to source either the same technology for less money or better technology for the same money, is going to give them a little bit of latitude on where they want to price things. Obviously, they're a new company, so if they get to scale, I'm sure that's always a function of what it gets manufactured for. But it's a pretty cool product.
Yeah, if you're interested in this, go to thespacesafe.com, THE spacesafe.com. And take a look at this thing. It's really interesting. It's got curved edges, so it's kind of sleek and modern looking. It's got sort of this slate glass that looks sort of like, the surface of your cell phone,
right,
or smartphone. And then there's a little blue circle up in the upper left-hand corner that looks like it's backlit. And that's basically your front of your safe, and so it's not.
Yeah, right. There's not
19th
the
century industrial looking.
Right. None of that. There's not the big handle. There's not the knob.
Yeah.
There's no visible keypad.
No.
There's nothing to indicate.
So does it? So Joe, how does it open? So you approach it. Is it like it's not RFID? It senses your phone, or do you have to? You have an app and you type the passkey into your app?
You can do a lot through the app. What they do is you can set up individually where on that screen to touch to open the page to be able to access the combination via keypad.
Okay.
But you have to, and I like this feature.
Is this something that you think you could do in an emergency situation? Or this is just like more of a storage?
Again, going back to the self-defense, having your gun on you is always the best, right?
This wouldn't be like maybe the bedside kind of safe. This would be more
No,
where I store a firearm.
I think that people at times will stage firearms in their house, so that if they don't keep one on them when they're at home, there's one always within 10 feet or 12 feet or whatever that may be. This allows that to happen very easily because of how nondescript this is as a safe.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
It's
of
definitely wouldn't be very obtrusive necessarily, depending on your decor and stuff like that.
right. I'm thinking of 3 places in my house right now that I could probably set that up, and people would come to my house and walk past it. And
A stereo unit almost you could mistake it for like
one of the designs on that 10-inch screen, they could make it look like a radio, where it has like 101.1 and a little equalizer on the side. So unless somebody wants to walk up to it because they want to change the radio station, that's all it's going to look like. So I'm a huge fan of that portion of what this is.
It's very clever.
It's very clever. It's sleek. But like I said, I can think of 3 places in my house I would love to put one of those and put a firearm in there, and I know it's secure. I don't know if I'm going to spend $3,000 to do that.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest hurdle of this product may be the price. But if you look at some of the other items, and I'm just going to say Vaultec as a brand, and I'm a fan of Vaultec. I like a lot of what they do. Quality is not inexpensive.
Yeah.
And they put together a lot of quality stuff, and I know obviously there's always profiting in how much goes into marketing and whatnot, but building quality products that are going to function when you want them to takes some revenue and it takes some money, and that's obviously going to be the consumer, the market to decide if this is right for it. But I definitely see applications where I think it's ideal for.
Yeah. And you can secure this safe. I'm looking at their website. You can, there's 2 holes for bolts, and you could secure it from the bottom or the back.
Yep.
So you could hang it on a wall. You could mount it to a flat surface where it wouldn't be something that you could just pick up and carry away.
Right. I would consider getting one for a specific location at my house, and I guess I'll leave it at that. I may end up purchasing one. I don't think I would purchase 3, but because of being able to hide it in plain sight, I may get one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I stopped here to see Wes at my second. Wes, how you doing today?
Doing great. How are you, Joe?
Not bad, thanks. I'd love for you to tell me and any of our listeners what you got going here.
So my second is a social media platform, a full ecosystem, if you will, built by gun owners for gun owners. It's a space online, both in app form and web-based. That's a freedom of speech, no censorship, no suppression of your voice. Great place for manufacturers to advertise, but also for gun enthusiasts to connect with each other, share information, share knowledge. So you can think of it as a combination between a Facebook, YouTube, Amazon, all in one place. The social media will launch in May, and then the e-commerce will launch later on in the year in August.
And is some of this prompted because of in the past some of the other platforms, whether it's just outright censoring or shadow banning and kind of suppressing some of the message that firearms enthusiasts and conservatives like to put out there? Is this in response to that sort of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. This is a space that's been needed for a long time in this country. You go on any of the social media platforms today and try to post a video of a AR build you're working on, and maybe you have some questions and you want to put it out there and see if you can get some help on it. Or if you're a content creator, you're super restricted on that industry. And not to mention the manufacturers that want to advertise. Everyone hangs out on social media these days. Everyone, all day. And so if I'm a brand like a Benelli or a Glock or someone like that, and I want to create ads that go out to these people where they're already hanging out, it's nearly impossible. And so we want to give a space for all of that to be achievable and break down those barriers. And being a private-owned business without the big tech telling us what to do, we're able to do it.
Okay, and I love the idea, but let me ask you this, because it just popped in my head. What service are you using to go out there? Do you have the potential for whatever platform you're sending through, like whether it's through the cloud, do they have the ability to tamper down on what you're doing?
So this is as you can imagine, a very expensive endeavor.
Sure.
And it is all built from the ground up. So all of our servers are privately owned and privately operated, so it'll operate on that. Our banking system is in-house. Our payment processing gateways are all built by us, so there's no restrictions. So, for example, there are some e-commerce sites that do allow sales of accessories and gun products and stuff like that, but they're very limited on payment gateway companies that they can even use, because they have their stamp of approval to put on the process as well. And so we've kind of blocked everything out and said, hey, let's build this all in-house so that we can truly control our own destiny here and avoid all kinds of censorship from the outside in.
Including the infrastructure that has to support it.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
That's huge.
That's been the biggest expense, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
But it's the only way we can really truly be a free company and a free environment for people to hang out.
Right, otherwise you're relying on the people that still might want to...
Right. Yeah, all of our legal team and all of our developers have all been working together to find the best solutions to all the problems that we would face, and we already have faced, and we've been successful so far to get past those hurdles, and we see the light at the end of the tunnel here, and we're on the home stretch now.
That's great. Wes, I'll tell you this, I'm really, really glad to see it. I'm glad I stumbled across you here at SHOT Show. Yeah. I'm excited to see it, and I'd be willing to bet a lot of our listeners and website viewers will too.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, go to mysecond.com. It's my2nd.com, and there you can pre-register for the site from now until May. And if you pre-register on there, you'll be the first to know when we go live. You'll be the first in the gates to create a user profile, and we'll be off and running.
That's great. I'm really excited for it. Thanks so much.
So my second, I'm excited about that one. I'm excited about that one because just with this little podcast that we do, and sometimes when I'm on Facebook and whatnot, I'll get a notice that I've, violated terms of use. And being as careful as I am, I know I didn't violate it. It's all algorithm based. If you use some of the key words in the same phrase, you wouldn't think so, but the word free. So if you're talking about what Facebook considers like a sensitive item, being a firearm, ammunition, and you use free in the same, they think you're trying to sell or give away something that you're not allowed to. And it's just because of word placement. I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to break the law and give away.
Right.
But the algorithm doesn't know me as an individual, and then I'm getting notices and in you have to contest things, and setting up something where there is an entire ecosystem of individuals of, like-minded and similar goals for the Second Amendment. I'm really excited about that.
Well, first of all, let me say that was a really good interview.
Thank you.
You had great comments, and the gentleman representing the company was really well spoken. It does excite me about the possibilities. I went to typed in my laptop here and went to the site, and it's really clever. It says M2 my second, and then it says the countdown to freedom, and there's literally a countdown timer on here. So as we're recording this, we've got, according to them, we've got 81 days, 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 7 seconds to freedom.
And that's their launch date, huh?
Yeah, that's their launch. That's coming up on their launch date.
Yeah, Wes was a great guy. Obviously, we spoke a little bit off mic also. He's a great representation for that company. I liked a lot of what he said. I agreed with virtually everything that he did say. I think it lends itself an opportunity on both sides of it for consumers. Even he brought up a great point. If you're building a new firearm and you're building a custom AR-15 and you run into a problem, good luck taking that video, putting it out on some of the social media that exists right now, asking for help on what to do next or suggestions on what to swap out. Get it in that ecosystem where people can answer you. I don't think that video would last very long.
Interesting.
And I'm sure every now and then something skates under their radar and whatnot. But what it basically comes down to is it's up to some of these social media companies. Do they feel it's appropriate?
Yeah.
And as soon as they think it isn't, it gets taken down. Of course, you can do, whatever process they talk about, appealing this or, asking for a review of that. But I don't think any of that should be necessary.
Yeah, I'm sure that that here, as long as it's in the realm of legality, you're going to be good to go. You don't have that worry.
Sure.
And then you do have access to people who are interested in that field. Now, granted, you're not casting your net as wide as the other platforms because you just have people that, if you had someone that's gun curious, I guess they might go here, but maybe not. They might be first on your YouTubes and Facebooks and stuff like that. But
sure. But I think I speak very highly of. I've mentioned his name a couple times. It's Scott Falk over at Apex Tactical.
Okay.
Pardon me. And if you go on Facebook and you're in any of like the FN 509 groups or any, he's very active on social media to answer questions about his product and what would be advisable if somebody comes across something. But guys like Scott, guys like yourself and myself, we're going to be going, I would assume we're going to go on there and you have a target audience. If you're a Glock distributor or just a gun store, you have a area where now obviously it's going to take time to build up, right?
Yes.
But if you're buying, everything's demographics, right? If you're buying a commercial, whether it's radio, TV, anything like that, you're trying to hit a specific audience. But when you can log in there and the entire audience is about the Second Amendment and or firearms because of how closely they are, it's, pardon the pun, it's a very targeted advertisement or request for help. I signed up to get notified as soon as they get going. I do realize it's going to take time. All of that stuff to gain users. And the more users you have, the bigger your reach. You put a question out there, and obviously if there's 40 people, you may not get the same feedbacks if you put a question out there with 10,000 people. But getting the word out at a venue like SHOT Show, and I'm sure there will be commercials and stuff, other locations, I can see it being very well accepted, and I could see it gaining traction pretty well.
I will definitely check it out.
Yeah, I will definitely be on there.
I'm going to register.
Yeah, there's no downside. They notify you when things, go when they launch, when they're hot, and then get in on the ground floor. I mean, it's not anything from like a financial standpoint, but be one of the original users, and who knows, maybe 5-10 years from now, when it's pretty big deal, you can say, been on from day one.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, it'd be exciting to see what happens with it. That's for sure.
There's a certain amount of comfort knowing that if you put a video or a podcast or review or something out there, that there aren't going to be a bunch of people maybe trying to dig into you personally and be able to attack you for what you believe and stuff like that. So I'm anxious to see what it brings.
Yeah, and similar to like an AR15.com kind of place, where you'll probably have people with some expertise, like you said, in that help realm. If you were doing something and looking for advice, getting into certain things for the first time, I could see where that might be really advantageous to go to a place where it's like everybody's there. Yeah,
I think so. And I consider myself, I don't consider myself anything an expert when it comes to firearms or anything like that. I'm an enthusiast, but I learned really early on, no matter what you think you know, there's people that know a lot more. But embrace that. Tap into that source of knowledge, of expertise when you do want to maybe swap a trigger assembly or go, hey, I'm feeling all sorts of recoil. Do I need to modify my gas block at all? I'm sure there's people that go, oh, well, what model do you have? Yeah, here's exactly where you want it set. And when we can put these people together and we can all help one another and we don't have to worry about a video being taken down, I'm going to support it.
So I stopped at the booth here to see Kirk at Magsmith. Kirk, why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners what you have on the table here?
Okay, I'm at SHOT Show 25, and I'm introducing a product that I've invented. I have 5 patents on this. It's the only loader that lets you put 18 rounds into a magazine in one hand stroke, and it's done in less than a quarter of a second. The magazine goes in the end of it, and then there's a tray that you can drop the ammo in or drop it right out of the box into. It's got indents in it, so it lines up the ammo for you. You close the sleeve, and you bring the handle down. You can stand it up right, and you can use your arm strength and your hand strength to push it down, but it really doesn't take much strength. It works on speed, so if you move quick enough, they all go in, 18 rounds.
Yeah, and I just tried it. It's I would say very easy to use. There's a couple examples up here on the table. It looks like you've got one here for Glock, one for Beretta, and maybe a couple for SIG. So are they brand specific, or how do you separate these?
They're Glock 9mm does all the Glock, but Sig Sauer has a lot of different magazines. So I had to make one for the P226, which also works for the P229. I made one for the P320 that also works for the P365. So SIG's the only one that's got a bunch of different shape magazines. But HK, I also have that one. So I have 4 brands, the Glock, the HK, Beretta, and Sig Sauer. I'm working on CZ and several others. There's been a lot of interest at the show, so I'm excited about that. I've had gun manufacturers come and ask for me to make it for their model, their brand. And I think the key takeaway here for this loader is that it's easy. And I have 90-year-old women calling me, telling me that this is way better than loading one at a time. They have those loaders that load one at a time, but you have to push the magazine spring down 18 times. And here, all in one stroke, it's done.
Yeah, so I see on your board here there's a website, and it looks like on the website there's a demonstration video. Is that accurate?
That's true. The video you're watching here at the show is also on the website. I just started selling these last year. We got the Glock up in November of last year. We're selling hundreds off of the website and on Amazon. But I'm here at the show as an inventor, so I'm looking for marketing partners that know this space. I really don't know the space. I'm working on another invention for a wine bottle opener, so I'm an inventor at heart. But
what is the website that these can be found at in the video?
Magsmith, magsmith.com.
Gotcha. Well, I'll tell you what, Kirk. Looking at it, it looks cool, and trying it, it's very simple. And I think a lot of our listeners could really benefit by picking up one of these. So I hope they visit your website, magsmith.com.
I hope they do too. There's also a contact us, which goes directly to me. I'm the only employee in the company. So if they reach out, I love talking to them. I've had customers even send me magazines so I could design for that particular magazine. And then they're willing to wait while I build it, and when I get it done, they're thrilled to test it for me. So I trade them a magazine for a future loader if I don't have one. So reach out to me. I love the help I get from my customers. It's amazing.
Sounds great, Kirk. Appreciate the time very much.
All right, Joe. Have a good show.
You do the same.
So that was Magsmith, a magazine loader. I tried it as a demonstration while on site, and it was extremely simple to load. I believe the magazine I loaded, I did 15 rounds, and it like he said, it takes about a quarter second. Obviously, there's a little bit of load time. You have to make sure you get your first round seated properly so that it starts or it enters the magazine properly, and once that's done, the following rounds follow very easily. You do have to do it quickly. That's part of it.
Yeah, you kind of have to push it down in one fell swoop, sort of.
Correct.
But that doesn't look hard to do. It looks like while the interview was taking place, I was looking at their website. So I went to magsmith.com, and sure enough, there's a demo video front and center on their website, and it looks like the unit is robust enough and ergonomic enough where it looks like that would be pretty easy to sort of just crunch those 15 rounds into a magazine in one swipe, so to speak.
Yep. If you're holding that against a table,
yeah,
makes it really easy to press down.
Yeah. In fact, in the video, he's seated at a bench or a table, and you can see that he's got the base of the base plate of the magazine against the table, and he pushes the rounds down in.
But I'll tell you this. It's simple enough where you can, almost from a horizontal position, use your left hand, say, if the device is in your right.
Sort of just patty cake it.
Yep, just use your hands. It's that the key isn't the force. Mm-hmm. The key is the speed.
Yep.
what you're making sure, and I hope I'm not misstating this from recalling a conversation with, what you're doing is just really not allowing the magazine time to respond, and you're just pushing it all in.
Yeah,
that's why.
compressing it
That's
all the
why.
way down.
Yep, that's why.
And that's how in the military I found that when early on, when you're using what we call stripper clips. Are you familiar with those at all? Similar thing. It works the best when you just sort of smash those 10 rounds all the way down in there all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, you can't be tentative. You can't be nervous. Worried about breaking something. You just hammer down. And I'm not going to mention any competitors out of professional courtesy. There are similar style loaders. I think they all have pluses and minuses, just like everything else.
Yeah.
Anybody that has several manufacturers of firearms with different size magazines may have an issue with the fact that you have to buy one of those for each manufacturer, and that not all manufacturers are available. Some of the other drawbacks on some of the other ones are capacity. Some only allow you to do 7 at a time, 10 at a time. So if somebody is just, say, a real huge fan of Glock and that's all they have, and they want to buy one for Glock and it's going to cover everything, that's going to work out really, really well.
As long as it's double stack. It's not going to work with a single stack Glock according to their website. The price is right. $59.95 is not bad. It looks like a quality product for that price.
Yeah, and for that price, some of the other ones that I'm thinking of in my head are another, $20 to $40 over that. So,
yeah, I think the price point looks pretty good. I will mention this, that some of the issues I've sort of had with this is that you have to load the rounds into the speed loader. And so if you're looking for it to be, fast, you still have to do that. But the way he shows it in the video is he did row by row from a box of 50.
Right.
And so then what he would do is he would use the cardboard to help him, and he would only expose a row of 5, and then he would dump those into the feed tray, so to speak, and he would then dump another 5 and then another 5. And if you do that carefully, you could get that without having to handle each round individually. So it still would speed up the process.
It would speed up the process, and I'm going to jump forward a little bit to an interview just to mention one of the benefits, and we can come back a little bit. But one of our later interviews is a company, Tactical Grit, and one of the things they're focusing on is eliminating the potential of lead poisoning. So obviously, in an instance like this, if you're not even touching any of the rounds and you're not pushing them into the magazine, I know I've experienced after even just a regular hour indoor range day, using my thumb. By the end of the time, I've got a gray line across my thumb from pressing all the cartridges into the magazine.
I'm still prone to sucking my thumb, so
so
it's even more dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. So this gentleman, and then like I said, an interview we'll talk about in a little bit, can help you with that. So you have less problems after sucking your thumb. So I do like this product. I think it has its place just like everything else, and I wish him the best because he was genuinely a nice guy.
Yeah, for sure. And I do. I think he has a great product. I do sort of feel like this would be, most useful for. I do have people that come out and they do struggle with loading magazines.
Oh, sure.
The higher capacity magazines get really tough as you start stacking the rounds in there.
Without a doubt.
So I could see that being really helpful, and especially if you shoot a lot. This could be really, if you're attending a class, I would certainly say if you're attending some kind of class where you're going to go through 1,000 rounds, in a short amount of time, that's something like that would be really nice.
Some of the training days that you and I have been on, where you take a break and you go back and you load up 3 or 4 magazines, using something like this, you're going to, or if you're just loading one magazine, I bet with that device you can load 3 or 4 magazines,
right,
while somebody else is just loading one.
Yeah,
and you're saving time.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty cool.
It is, and it sounds like he plans on developing a little bit more. So I hope that as time goes on, he's successful with bringing those to market and selling them.
Yeah, and just now, I'm probably reiterating what he's already went over in the interview, but we've got Beretta / Taurus, so you're like your 92F style magazines, double stack Glocks, HKs are covered, SIG 226, 228, 229, and then the P320 and P365 are all covered by different ones in his lineup. So
yep,
that covers a lot of the market share. Probably needs to get some Smith & Wesson in there, I would say.
I was going to say probably some Smith & Wesson, and at that point, he's going to, I'd hate to throw a percentage out there. I'll just say he's covering a bulk of the market at that point with adding a couple, a Smith & Wesson. So the other thing I want to say about that, Leigh, is I think if anybody's interested and they go to the website to check this device out, it is very stout. It is not cheaply made. You can tell the gentleman took a lot of pride in designing and manufacturing this to the point where the quality of it comes through. And when holding it, you could tell it's manufactured very well.
I've had some loaders over the years where I'll be going through a place and they'll have like a clearance, and I've picked a few up over the years, and I feel like they're going to break while I'm using this. I haven't had this thing in my hand, but I could sort of tell just by the image he has on his website. This thing's built to take some abuse. It looks like a really robust device, so I wouldn't be afraid in that regard that this is going to be like a tinker toy kind of thing that's going to break or fall apart on you easily.
No, absolutely, and I would say that's one of the products where if somebody's questioning spending the money on it, this is not something that I think anybody would be disappointed in once they got.
Yeah, he's got. It's very simple, which means it's going to be less prone to breaking. There's numbers on the side to count your rounds, so you'll know exactly what you're loading and stuff. Pretty nice.
Yeah,
pretty nice setup.
And simpler usually means easier to use.
Yeah.
And like I said, that is very easy to use.
Yeah. I think I might get one for the range.
Excellent.
So while continuing to wander around SHOT Show, I come across a booth by the name of Kick Ease, and I'm here with RJ. RJ, can you go ahead and tell us what you guys are featuring here?
Yeah, so Kick Ease makes recoil pads out of Zorbathane. We are 100% made in America. It's been around since 1985. We're on the back of everyone from Barrett to Blaser to Boyd's to Manor. Pretty much the industry leader in recoil pads.
So some of the manufacturers actually purchase from you, and they put on their firearms directly at their plant?
Yeah, we're OEM on I'm not even sure how many at this point.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we are OEM for a lot of the different manufacturers out there, and as well as we sell pre-fits and grind-to-fits for pretty much everyone else.
Okay, so if somebody has a firearm, a shotgun, anything like that, and they want to mitigate a little bit of recoil, they can go to your website and find one of the products that would fit their firearm appropriately?
Correct, yeah, and you literally just go to kickeaseproducts.com. We can have grind-to-fits for all your different shotguns, whatever. We probably have a pre-fit for it as well, and we also carry stuff for Magpul, BCM, yeah, pretty much everything you need.
Gotcha, and you said you manufacture that right here in the United States?
Yes, we manufacture in Kent, Ohio. We're based out of Lexington, Kentucky, and we even source every bit of our material in the United States.
That's really great to hear. I hope everybody has a chance to check out Kick Ease, and they can mitigate some of the recoil on their firearms. Thanks very much, RJ.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thanks for coming by.
Absolutely.
So I stopped at that booth, Kick Ease. It's not the type of product that
the jokes are endless with Kick Ease.
Yeah, but it's not terribly complicated. It's not real complex. It's a real basic idea, just mitigating some of the recoil that is felt. If you're shooting trap, if you're shooting skeet, or they put them in on even rifles, carbines. They make a lot of the pads on the back of a stock that are already integrated on firearms now that are on the market for manufacturers. But what they offer, which I think is great, is if you have a shotgun or a rifle that you think you want to soften the recoil, that you can go to their website, you can call them, you can let them know what you have, And it sounds like they either have already dealt with it and have the template to design, or not even design, but to be able to just ship you what they have already designed, that they've dealt with it for so long that they probably have something that'll work for you. And if not, they will design something for you. And it's just what I get from it, Leigh, to be honest with you, is that if you're out, doing sporting clays or trap or, anything like that, a long day out there can be a little rough on the shoulder. And I'm sure, you've seen, the shooting vests that have pads built into them and whatnot. And it's all to just make the day a little bit more pleasant by not beating up your shoulder. And that's what these guys do. They make it more enjoyable to shoot your firearm all day.
Yeah, I'm looking at their website, Kickeez, KICKEEZ products.com. And I'm just, glancing through really quick, and something that I own, Magpul Hunter stock. They've got a recoil pad pre-fit to fit it. So there's certainly, and stuff for carbine stocks. So there's definitely products to fit, pre-fit. And then I think he said grind to fit.
Yeah.
Which is you'd put the pad on and then shape it and form it to fit your stock. But yeah, and I'm seeing, prices like for the Hunter, you're looking at, between $49 and $52, different thicknesses.
Which is reasonable, a very reasonable price point. If if you're talking about going out for the day and for $50 you can come home at the end of the day and your shoulder feels that much better.
Yeah.
It to me that's a well spent $50.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and just the overall, over time, the wear and tear on your body. If you could, save your joints and bones from that excess stuff, it seems like that $50 would be a small price to pay.
And they make it here, right in the USA. And I'm always a fan of companies that want to keep jobs here. So
yep.
That's in the plus column as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
So I stopped here to talk to Nick at Recoil Less Engineering. Nick, would you mind telling us what you have this year at SHOT Show?
So RJ at Kickeez was kind enough to allow me to put one of my newest stock adjusters on one of the Marlin lever actions with the chisel stock that he has on display. What my company does is we manufacture stock adjusters for shotguns and rifles. We're starting to offer more direct fit products to where you can buy an off-the-shelf Beretta shotgun, remove the recoil pad, bolt on one of my adjusters. You can either use an OE, your original Beretta pad, or you can put on a Kickeez pad. I have a plate that's already profiled for one of their medium-sized pads, so there's no grinding. It's literally a direct bolt-on. What my product is, it allows you to move the recoil pad independent of the gun. And what that does for you is it allows you to fit the pad in your shoulder pocket, which reduces felt recoil because you're increasing the surface area of the recoil pad during the actual shooting process.
And that's so important because obviously so many firearms are built with a certain stock and it's a fixed stock, but everybody's obviously body type, the way their shoulder, the length of their arms, everything kind of changes where that naturally falls in to that pocket, right? So am I correct in saying that your device allows for fine adjustment to just make that more comfortable?
Yes, and with the way that we've designed the product, we have some Delrin spacers, so if you're a very tall individual and you don't want to have a custom stock made, we offer a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/4 inch spacer that you can put in place in between the recoil pad and our pad plate to extend that the length of pull that much more for you.
Well, you really are able to dial in very fine adjustment in your firearm with those two factors together, right?
Yeah, and our key market is trap and skeet shooters, but we also have a lot of upland game shooters that like it because they're able to acquire the target faster. Every time they mount the gun, it's going in the same spot every single time.
That consistency in trap and skeet is very important, but then also several factors, right? If you're competing in precision rifle shooting, that also becomes very crucial.
Yeah, and one of the products that it's a little less popular is we have a prone adjuster. So when you're shooting from the prone position, that pad needs to sit a little higher up. So what our prone adjuster does is it allows you to move the recoil pad higher on the butt of the gun, so you can also get a proper mount on it when you're shooting in the prone position.
Again, for that consistency.
Yep.
I love it. Anybody that's interested in your product, where would they find out more or order from?
Recoil-less.com.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for the time. I'm very intrigued by that. I'm going to check it out myself.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So I like this product for a bunch of different reasons. One is that...
So we're talking about Recoil Less.
Yes.
Recoil Less. Less is more.
Less is more. One of the reasons I like this a lot is because I'm just always intrigued and appreciate when somebody looks at a product or a group of products, and the way their mind operates is they see the opportunity to tweak it to make it a little bit better, and having the ability and know-how to make that happen. So for the longest time, my impression of whether you're talking a rifle, a shotgun, pretty much any firearm really, but for this product, it'd be, rifles and shotguns, is that you buy off the shelf, and what you buy off the shelf, you spend a lot of time, in theory, you'd spend a lot of time making sure you're buying the right firearm. And part of what that is the length of the stock, the grip angle, just the way it feels in your hands, in your arms, all of that. And for the longest time, unless you started to get into the higher dollar market, say for shotgun, if you're going to shoot trap or sporting clays and whatnot, is most of the time the stock that you got, you just kind of dealt with. And you picked the one off the shelf that fit you the best. But guys like this Recoil Less, Recoil-Less, they're saying for a few extra bucks, you can turn it into essentially a firearm that is going to be adjusted and fitted for you to maximize with your body type, whether it's your length of arms, shoulder, whatever it is. And I love that. This is a very straightforward product. He explained, taking off the existing recoil pad. He showed it to me again, not a flimsy device at all. And you attach that to the back of the stock of a firearm, and then either replace it with a pad that you buy our aftermarket, or put the same one back on that came off the firearm. But it starts to give you all sorts of adjustment on where you then push that firearm into your shoulder, and you can dial it in the way you want.
What this solves, and I think it always has been the issue with a fixed stock, is that the length of pull is not adjustable. It's whatever the manufacturer made the stock.
Right.
And so then you could use this device, which basically mimics just the rear of your stock, and allows you to add it in spacer, again, a quarter, half inch, and 3/4 inch increments to get the length of pull where it's more suited to your body type and or your proportions. And yeah, it looks like a well-made product. Taking a look at their website.
That in conjunction with the lateral movement of where you're placing that stock gives a person a lot of micro adjustments to make it comfortable for themselves.
Yeah, it looks really well put together, well thought out.
And I mean, let's face it, right? I mean, like most manufacturers, when these companies are designing whatever it is they're designing, whether it's shirts, shoes, firearms, stocks, you can't, it's very difficult to manufacture really well for the 10 or 15% of the people that don't fall in with a certain diet.
I was thinking the same thing right now. Yep.
You know, they lose money if
if you're, you know, exceedingly average, most of the stuff is going to work really well for you. But if you're on the outliers, either really larger or really smaller, could be an issue.
Yeah, and having the option to.
Granted, you're not going to get smaller, right? Like, I mean, the stock is the stock, so you could lengthen the length of pull, but you're not going to reduce it unless you already had a spacer on there. Like if you had some kind of, you know, 1-inch spacer and you went down to a 1/4 inch by using their product. But this is something, if you're just a larger person, you're going to be able to have that length of pull increased to get that better cheek weld and ergonomic position that you might be looking for depending on what you're doing.
Right. But obviously more than just a spacer, because you're able to move that stock, that pad up and down.
Oh, you can. Yeah. That doesn't come across in the images here. So what you're saying is that that this allows you to lower the height at which your stock weld would be,
the pad.
Or your cheek.
Correct. The pad. You can bolt this on and say move it down 1/4 of an inch.
It's interesting.
So when you bring your shotgun up, you're holding it, and essentially your barrel might be a little bit higher, and your sights will be a little bit higher because you were able to still get that stock in the pocket of your shoulder.
That is interesting. Okay.
And that's what I like about it, is that
additional benefit to that. Yeah. I was thinking from what I saw just that it was length of pull, but it's not.
Yeah, no, it isn't. And if I recall correctly, it moves on 2 different axes. So you can go slightly left right. Wow. And up and down. So if you start to factor those adjustments in conjunction with spacers, you can really start to kind of get that pad exactly where it's most comfortable for you as an individual. And I think
so when you shoulder your long gun, it's more lined up with your body's proportions.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So I stopped at another booth here at SHOT Show, one that jumped out at me. It's called Tactical Grit, and I'm here with the owner, Doug. How you doing, Doug?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. I'm intrigued by your display here. You want to tell me a little bit about what you guys offer?
Sure. What we offer is a brand new product to the market. Think of it as the Purell of the firearms industry. It is a completely waterless, lead neutralizing hand cleaner. It feels like and acts just like a hand sanitizer. And what it does is it removes 99.4% of GSR and heavy metals from your hands.
Gotcha. And it looks like it's available in a couple different forms, right? Like the spray bottle, is that also for your hands, or is that for maybe equipment?
No, the spray bottle is going to be our next product that is released. That is going to be a hard surface cleaner that should be ready in about a month or so. Just getting final approval, but the next step in the process obviously is if you're cleaning your weapon at home or you have a range and you want to clean up, using the same scientific formula that we've used in our hand cleaner, transferring it to a surface cleaner.
Okay, fantastic. Let me ask you this. What is the importance? Why did you come up with this?
Well, we are all avid shooters. We all have families, and obviously the importance of lead removal, starting with the paint and everything else. We just did a lot of research on the effects that it will have on you from a long-term perspective, the effects it has on young children and everything else. And it just kind of became a side mission to figure out a way to help people stay a little bit safer while enjoying shooting.
And how long have you guys been doing this?
We are a brand new company. We have been in R&D for about 14 to 16 months. Went through several iterations of the product. Our first manufacturing run was about 3 months ago, and SHOT Show is kind of our big rollout.
Oh, that's great. Well, congratulations on that. So you guys have actually spent more time in research and development than you have actually on the marketplace so far.
Correct. Yes, we wanted to make sure that the product we were bringing to market was effective and kind of checked all the boxes that we set out for it to check when it was created.
And part of that research and development, I'm assuming there was some third-party testing, is that correct?
Correct. We, in addition to the company that manufactures it doing testing, once we finally settled on the iteration that we wanted, we did send it out for third-party testing. just to make sure that it was up to our standards, and we came back with a 99.4% efficacy test score.
That's pretty high. That's damn near 100%. So that's great to hear. If people wanted to learn more, do you have a website that they can check out?
We certainly do. The website is www.tactical-grit.com.
Great. I think a lot of our listeners should check that out, because being able to leave the range and not bring any of that lead in your vehicle or back to your house is really important. And I'm glad to see that you guys are doing something about that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's again kind of one of the core missions that we have, and every product that we're going to be releasing is going to be along the same lines of keeping everybody that enjoys shooting safe.
Well, Doug, we wish you the best, and I really appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you, Joe.
So that conversation I had with Doug was actually prearranged meeting for SHOT Show, because I'd reached out to him before going out there. And I think out of all the interviews, that's the only one that I prearranged. The rest were kind of spontaneous, me walking by and checking out and having a conversation with somebody. Super nice guy. Product, from what I looked at there, I'm also a real big fan of this product. And I guess I preface it with this. I've been shooting firearms for a long time now, very avidly, the past, say, 8 years, give or take. But there's a ton I don't know about the entire industry, right? This is something that I never gave a lot of weight to until fairly recently, because it was brought up to my wife when she was at one of the events she went to about lead mitigation while still at the range. So there are some shooters that will actually change shoes and whatnot. Leigh, honestly, I had never given any thought to how, if any, or how much lead I may be bringing home or into my vehicle, transferring to my vehicle after a day of shooting, until I spoke to my wife briefly. But then, after arranging this interview and speaking with Doug, it never really dawned on me. But I give it some thought now, because it makes all the sense in the world. You know, over, I think in the 70s, they stopped putting lead in paint, things like that. And if you buy a house of a certain age, they test for lead. The federal government is spending a ton of money, as are most municipalities, removing lead pipes for lead water services. And it makes sense that if we're handling lead, our hands are covered in it.
I know for a fact that I have gone like straight from the range and shooting like 1,000 rounds to like eating a burger and not washing my hands.
We've done that together, right? So I had never thought about it, right? And
I know that it's there. It's just I tend to disregard it, and probably at my own peril. I don't know how what the danger is or what the level of danger is. I always reassure myself. I'm like, well, I shoot outdoors, so I'm like not too worried about inhaling it in a confined space. I'm sure there's plenty that I still inhale, even though we're outdoors. But I don't know why I think that. I don't have any proof for that. But I've known that this issue has been around for quite some time, because back in the 90s. I recall that Midwest Sporting Goods was going through the process of upgrading their air filtration system. And I don't think it was a want to. I think it was a have to. I believe that the regulators sort of said, like, you have to upgrade this ventilation system to this newer, whether it's the EPA or who, and someone probably out there knows, but who, dictates that.
And the way I look at it is probably I think you used the correct word. I've always just disregarded it, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of in the back of your head. Yeah. Like I said, sometimes I look at my hand and go, oh, that's probably lead on my thumb right there. I'll go wash my hands or something. Sometimes not. Yeah. But this company makes it so easy to have a bottle, either just in your range bag.
Yeah, I'm seeing a gallon size with the pump on top.
Yeah, so if we went out for a range day.
Yep, you could have that on the tailgate.
Right, and what's nice about it is, I'm going to compare it to a hand cleaner for a moment. A lot of the hand cleaners I use, I'll wash my hands and I'll use a rag to wipe off all the residual, and then maybe take a bottle of water and just wash off the rest, and then use a towel again. This is more like a hand sanitizer where you put it on your hands and you wipe it down, and after a little while, it's just gone.
So you wouldn't need a wipe necessarily.
No, not necessarily. So it makes it extremely convenient.
Yeah.
So I'll be picking some up. That's when we go out for one of our next range days, you'll probably see a bottle of that on the tailgate of my truck. And this is the way I look at it. It's not going to hurt anything, and it can only help.
Yeah.
And if I'm helping something that maybe doesn't need to be helped, but maybe it does, there's no harm.
Yeah, I'm seeing their sizes. I'm at their website, tactical-grit.com. I'm seeing they've got a 10-pack of like individually packaged where you just like rip the side open, squeeze the stuff out onto your hands. Then, like I said, I see the gallon size hand wash with the pump on top. And then they have different, they've got like a squeeze tube, similar like you would see for like hand cream. So they've got some different options depending on how you want to do it. Obviously, you could cut down on some waste if you just got the gallon size and squeezed it out. Maybe you could even refill that or something. I'm not sure, but and then he's got some nice swag on his website too. He's got some T-shirts that look kind of cool.
Yeah, they have a cool design. They have cool colors and stuff like that. So and for us, ironically enough, I went to Vegas to do this interview and meet up with them. They're only about an hour north of us, so they're somewhat local.
Wow.
So that's
right.
I always support.
Well, that's always nice. I when we first started doing this, our goal was to highlight people that are in our behind the Iron Curtain here in Illinois.
Yeah.
And that are in this industry, and so let's everybody out there, let's get out there and support the guys over at Tactical Grit. They're local, and it doesn't sound like it can hurt. It can only help.
Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about poisoning your family.
Yeah.
So we stopped at the Palmetto State Armory booth. I knew already that PSA had a Rock 5.7, which is on display here. But one of the things that intrigued me is I did not know that you guys came out with the compact. Is this fairly new?
Yeah, we just released the compact within the last month. So for those that don't know, the Rock 5.7 is our delayed blowback 5.7 pistol. It has a 23 round capacity, and it is more of a full-size frame. It's got a 4.7 inch barrel. And then people were asking us for a compact version, so we shortened everything just a hair. So we came out with the Rock Compact. It still has the RMSC compatibility, but now it's 21 round mag capacity, so a little bit smaller frame, and then a shorter barrel as well. We have a 4.3 inch barrel, so it's a little closer to that compact dagger or Glock 19 size that people like to carry. So a little smaller and slimmer, and perfect for a carry 5.7.
Gotcha, that makes sense. And one of the things I noticed, I think I have it right, is on the full size, you have sights to co-witness. On the compact, it's one or the other. Is that correct?
That's not necessarily correct. So, these are standard height sights because this doesn't have a threaded barrel.
Okay.
However, these are 2X sights because it's got a threaded barrel, so if you put a suppressor on there, you need to clear the barrel. That's why it has that. There's options of the compact with 2X sights as well.
Okay, so if somebody wanted that feature on the compact.
Yeah, and they're compatible with Glock sights, so if you have another set of sights you want to use, you can always do that as well.
So it's virtually endless as far as what you want to put on there.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, as far I've always been a fan of the 5.7x28 cartridge, and one of the things that seems to be consistent is the longer the barrel, the better velocity or performance you get out of the round. Am I assuming correctly that you still get plenty of speed and velocity out of the shorter barrel of 4.3, otherwise you guys wouldn't have released it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you lose a little bit of velocity, but that's why we went with 4.3 instead of something smaller, because we noticed a pretty big dip when you go smaller than 4.3. But 4.3, it still has quite a bit of velocity and does what it needs to do.
And with it being a firearm that's designed for concealed carry, you're not necessarily concerned about that distance that you are with that velocity being a big advantage. So this,
you're not losing much versus the full size. You're just losing a little bit.
Gotcha. Are there any other features that are necessarily different other than you mentioned a threaded barrel? Does it use the same trigger assembly?
I mean, it's not the same trigger assembly per se because it's a little shorter, but it's very similar. Yes.
Gotcha. Any other features that you want to point out that either one of those has?
No, I mean that's pretty much it. Like I said, it's a delayed blowback, so it's very soft shooting, and I mean really it's pretty much just a striker fired 5.7 pistol that has a really great trigger to be a striker fired pistol. But yeah, I mean it's great. They're RMSC compatible. Like I said, we don't make any that aren't compatible with optics, which is great. And then you can do threaded or non-threaded on both.
And with that blowback, with the 5.7 already being a very light recoil cartridge, with that blowback, this has to shoot very soft, I would think.
Very,
right?
very soft shooting pistols, yeah. It's very similar to a 22 pistol.
Which is amazing to me, out of what that cartridge can do, having the recoil that close to a 22. Justin, I want to thank you for taking the time and appreciate it very much. Enjoy the rest of the SHOT Show.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Well, I would say anybody that's listened to very many of our podcasts or has visited the website of 2A Today is probably aware I'm a fan of the 5.7 by 28 cartridge.
Yes, you are.
Palmetto State Armory, PSA, their full-size 5.7 by 28 pistol is the rock. What I was interviewing that gentleman about was the compact version, and I did not know that they were releasing that until I got to the show and I was walking around the booth a little bit, and I was intrigued. It had this one had an optic on it for display. It doesn't necessarily come with an optic. You can order it with it. But I was very intrigued by it because I've had a lot of conversation over the years about the effectiveness of 5.7 by 28 and what's the age-old argument about, caliber and cartridge and what's good for self-defense and what's not good. And my notion is 5.7 by 28 cartridge is a great cartridge. Not that I want to, talk doom and gloom, but if you want to look into the real world application, go to the Fort Hood shooting several years back. That individual was using a 5.7 by 28 pistol. And if you read any of the reports of the actual carnage that incurred, many shots that were center mass, one or two shots, and unfortunately people didn't make it. And I say unfortunately because, that was innocent bystanders. That was a mass shooting event. And some of the people that were hit in the leg or the arm with just one cartridge had devastating wounds. So as people want to start talking about, so-and-so does a test with that cartridge on ballistic gel and it didn't perform as well as this cartridge or that cartridge. I get all of that. And there has to be testing for all of this stuff, form baselines and everything like that. But I also am a strong believer in real world application, and those results are undisputable. So I'm a fan of that cartridge, and now PSA is offering this pistol in a pretty compact version. It's a little bit thinner than their full size. It's a little bit shorter. Still feels great in the hand. As mentioned, the barrel length. I don't think a lot of people would consider a 4.3 inch barrel concealed carry or a compact version, but as stated, that 5.7 by 28 cartridge needs a certain amount of pressure in the barrel and a longer barrel to really be effective. All of those 5.7 by 28 firearms, they shoot extremely soft. Mm-hmm. And now PSA is putting out a product that I can't speak to the quality of the product because I've never shot it. I did hold it. I liked it. It felt great. The ergonomics of it was very nice. I'm tempted.
How did it stack up compared to with your other 5.7s as far as the fit and feel of it?
I would say as comfortable. Quality wise, it felt. Now I've never owned a FN 5.7. I've shot one, and I think the Ruger 57 is very comparable to the FN. Some people would probably argue with me, but that's fine. In the little bit I was holding each of these, I would say it's very comparable. I don't know if the grip angle is the same, but it felt very intuitive in my hand. Okay. And I'm tempted at some point to consider picking one up after the...
That was going to be my next question.
I'm not sure exactly maybe when the tipping point was, but that 5.7 by 28 cartridge seemed to, in the past couple of years, gain a little traction. So PSA said, let's give people something that we think they want, because I don't think there's another compact 5.7. I think PSA is the first one to the market. It was, like I said, it felt like a great product. At some point, I'm going to consider picking one up, but probably not until I can pick one up and have it the way I want to have it. So that would mean, this unconstitutional weapons ban we have in Illinois has to be struck down.
But yeah, I'm looking at I'm gone to the Palmetto State Armory website. I'm looking at their Rock Compact. They've got a MSRP or their price of $499.99,
which is unbelievable.
Great price. It does not look compact. That's still a big. Yeah, that's a big chunk of gun. Still,
I think if you look at that grip, the grip is a little shorter.
For sure, that's where it is. Yeah,
but again, with that cartridge, you can't have a 3.5 inch barrel, a 3-inch barrel.
So wandering through SHOT Show, I stopped at a booth that I found very interesting, and it's called Mitt, and I'm here with Olivia for her to tell us exactly what this is. Olivia, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. What's on the table here?
Mitt is a chemical-free tick removal glove. You simply swipe it on your skin, your clothes, your pet's fur, and any ticks that are crawling on you, stick to it like Velcro. It's a patented microfiber, and it works super easily. Once ticks have, embedded into your skin, you're already at risk for diseases, so we're trying to mitigate that. Just wipe it on your skin every couple hours when you're out hiking, hunting, camping, gardening, and it's a really easy tool. It comes with a mesh dryer bag, so once there are ticks on the mitt, you can pop it in the dryer bag on high heat to kill the ticks, shake the dead ticks off, and use it again.
And it looks literally just like a glove. You slide right over your hand, and you can rub your leg, pet your dog the way you normally would, and cover it, and it's going to remove the ticks from your dog's skin and fur.
Yep, so you just use it on your skin, your clothes, your pet's fur. You could use it on a deer before you pick it up after a hunt. You could use it on your couch if you're finding ticks on your couch, really any surface. And it's super easy to use before you go back into your home to stop you from bringing ticks into your car and your house.
It's a great idea. I honestly did not know that a fabric would be able to remove ticks, so it's very fascinating to me.
Yeah, we worked with a tick scientist and a product engineer for 3 years creating it, and it's completely patented, and we're excited to share it with you.
Is this a fairly new product?
It came out in March 2023, so almost 2 years ago.
Okay, and if anybody wanted to look up any additional information about Mitt, how would they do that?
You can find us on tickmitt.com or tick.mitt on Instagram. We're available on Amazon, Chewy, our own website, and a bunch of other retailers, and you can find a store near you.
That's excellent. Thank you very much for the time. It seems like it'd be a great product.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm very intrigued by Mitt for a couple reasons. Now, in full disclosure, they did give me one. After the interview, they gave me one to try. And I don't want to say I'm confused is definitely not the right word. I did tell them it would be a little while because it's very cold by us. Ticks are not a concern in January, February, in March. I'm very intrigued to use it because one of the dogs we had to put down a couple years ago was not very old, came down with Lyme disease. It was a husky, so it had very thick fur. There's plenty of thought that maybe a tick had the dog sick.
Oh, wow.
And the dog would come in and you'd look, but it's a lot of fur.
Yeah.
It was thick on a husky, and they don't sit still very often. So it's always been in the back of my head, like, damn it, I missed a tick, and my dog got sick because I didn't find a tick. So having a product like this that maybe I could just brush the dog really quick, run over the skin, all the fur everywhere, and if there is a tick, it would remove it. I love that concept. Now, where I run into a little bit of, I'm going to call it hesitation, is that if the dog doesn't have a tick and I'm petting it, it may seem like the product doesn't work because it didn't remove a tick. However, if there's no tick there to remove, the product didn't have a chance to work. The only way I'm going to be able to confirm that this works well is that if I'm out on a training day, and sometimes we go into areas where it's not unlikely
100%.
to see a tick, right?
Yeah, everybody that does stuff in the outdoors probably runs into that.
Right. So, using this on a range day or a range weekend and seeing that it works would be great, because then I know I removed a tick. Or if I remove one off my dog or anything like that, then I can, 100% say, great, it works well. But it may still work really well, even though I don't remove a tick, because there was no tick there to remove. So this is going to be an interesting one to try and to see how it works. And I'm anxious to use it. I just don't know exactly right now how to, confirm its efficiency. So it'll be interesting when I start using it. But I can't right now because it's, 20 degrees outside.
Are they're stuck in there after, because my concern is ticks are pretty robust, they're hard to kill, but they're stuck in the fiber. You don't have to worry about them crawling out of you're not going to be knocking them off, and they're going to be crawling around looking for a new host.
No, from what I understand, they stick to the mitt.
Yeah, that's what it looks like in the photo.
Then you take the mitt and you put it in a bag that it comes with, and you run it through the dryer.
Okay.
So you're eliminating, through that process, the heat and whatnot.
Interesting.
Absolutely. So my guess is that, I shouldn't say guess, because I'll obviously read through everything and make sure, but even if you're not certain you got one or two, after a couple uses or after each use, maybe it's worth throwing it through a dryer cycle, because if you did remove a small tick that you still didn't see visually, you're still going to want to eliminate it.
Did they mention that this will get one that's dug in?
They did not.
Guessing it would. It'll probably just pop their head.
It sounds like at the beginning of that interview with Olivia, she said once they dig in, they're very difficult. So it sounds like it's a preemptive device.
Yeah, you'd have to do it as soon as your dog or yourself, as soon as you came back from something.
Right. And honestly, if we're out at the range for 8 or 10 hours, this mitt that you just slide over your hand, the ease of use, I'm anxious to try it. I thank them very much for giving me one to try and review and whatnot. It'll be an interesting product to review. I'll definitely do my best to give it an honest review. It'll take a while though.
Have you gotten them on you quite a bit by you?
No. I can honestly say I'm very fortunate that even by my
you got a
house
little
and
bit.
working
You're a
in the
little
yard.
more rural than I am.
Yeah, but where we go shooting on a regular basis, that could definitely exist out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I stopped by a booth here by the name of Throom, which has been around a little while, because I'm pretty certain I've seen a couple videos in the past. But I'm fascinated by what I see, and I'm here with Erin. Erin, thanks for taking a few minutes with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am standing here looking at what I would say a scaled down version of a plate rack for a display. Could you tell us a little bit about what I'm looking at here?
Yeah, so basically Throom, we named it Throom because you could shoot through them, right? So Throom. We were originally called Recoil Targets, and the company actually started in 1995. We rebranded to Throom in 2019 and came out with all green colors, really vibrant. They glow under black light. They're totally shoot through. And the idea is that kind of like steel is our enemy, right? We want to be able to shoot closer, no standoffs, distances, and absolutely no splatter splashback at all.
That's a really nice feature. For anyone that has not shot steel target before, if you're shooting close at, I would say, any close distance whatsoever, it's not a matter of if you're going to get hit with fragmentation. It's just you either already have or you haven't yet.
Or you haven't yet, exactly.
So this, what is this material? I'm sure it's proprietary, but basically, what is this? Is it silicone, rubber?
Yeah, so it's actually a high-density urethane that we formulate. So my family's been in this business, open casting urethanes and products like that, since the 70s. And so we had a really great knowledge. And someone approached us in law enforcement and said, hey, could you do a target that is more fun than paper and safer than steel? And we were like, absolute challenge accepted. Here we are.
Gotcha. And as far as setting up, there's I'm sure the options are virtually endless, but what we're looking at here would be a 4-plate rack. And you guys actually manufacture what I'm going to call the fittings to assemble the legs and the cross arm of the plate rack. Is this made of the same material?
Yeah, so the alpha brackets, we call them, are basically 2x4 holders, right? Like kind of like sawhorse brackets, but they are completely self-healing too. We actually torture tested them. We took 50 pounds of steel and we drilled 509 millimeter rounds right into the corners from 5 feet just to try to collapse them. And at 500 rounds, we felt like it was a waste of money and kind of gave up.
Sure. So if you buy these, you're probably buying them once, and it's not necessarily replacing them very often, especially because you're not aiming at these. But you are aiming at the targets, and other than the plate racks, you have what I would call like a simulation of animals and whatnot. What's the durability of those items?
Yeah, so our standard 6-inch plate will take about 5,000 hits with center fire ammunition before it, you can see light through it. You got to replace it.
That's a lot of rounds. That's pretty impressive.
That's kind of a part of our whole proprietary, blend, right, of urethane, and also the process that we use to create it. I know a lot of our competitors, may only take 1,000 hits, and it's just because of the type of process they're using, the type of materials. Everything that we do, every material we use is sourced in the United States. It's really important to us, and we manufacture the targets all in New Jersey. Everything is manufactured in the U.S. as well.
I like that a lot. I like that being a factor. So let me ask you, some of these plates we're looking at here, it looks like they've been shot through, but they're also designed to tip over, correct?
Correct, yeah. So those are our knockdown series, and basically the idea is the bullet is going to pass totally through and knock it down, transfer enough energy, knock it down on its way. So we have that option. We also have a series called the Hang Tough series, which are a hanging target that you don't have to reset. They're highly reactive with any caliber. They flip around all directions. We have a bounce back series, which is basically a static plate that wobbles when you hit it.
Okay, and now something attached to this particular plate rack is something that I have not seen before. Would you care to tell us about that?
Yeah, so we actually have partnered with Lazarus Target Systems this year. Lazarus makes a really unbelievable remote control reset system that can reset from 300 yards. They were resetting their steel plate racks with that, their steel target racks with that. They approached us about doing an entire self-healing line that would be able to be utilized at close range and at indoor ranges. And we went ahead and accepted that challenge, and we created splatter containment sleeves that would go over their steel pieces and contain any spall or splatter for their system. So now we've got a remote control reset system and an entirely self-healing plate rack.
So the days of walking over your plate rack when you're done and resetting, or setting up the string to reset, you guys are putting that by the wayside, huh?
We're beyond that. We are totally, we can reset from 300 yards. I know Jake, their CEO, Jake Moser, has plans to reset from 1,000.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. So anyone that is interested in what we just discussed, I'm sure you guys have a website. What is that website that they can go look at this?
Yeah, the website is throomtargets.com.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. I appreciate it, and I love the product, so I'd say you gained a customer today.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you.
Those Throom targets and the products that they have, I'm pretty certain before very long you are going to see them firsthand, because I like it a lot. I'm gonna pick some of it up. I like it for several reasons. Where we go shooting, sometimes we have those steel plates, and they're attached to a 4x4. Sometimes they're a pain in the ass to move around from one location to the next. This stuff is very light, very easy.
Yeah, it is easy
to move around. Not to mention, if we're going to go a long duration, it's very easy to because of how easy it is to move around and pick up, and it's very easy to then tear down and get indoors. Somebody's not going to be on site for weeks or months. I like the fact that we can get closer to these targets in shoot than the steel.
I see that they. I have some experience with these early on. One of the ranges where I worked and competed, set them up, and it didn't go over as greatly. They kind of would just wiggle. If you happen to hit them, it certainly wasn't the reaction that you would get like if you shot a bowling pin, or some of the other things that that people, a pepper popper. Stuff like that where you get a bigger reaction.
Sure.
So, at first, but now that they have these that are, like in knockdown configuration, or like a dueling tree. That seems, much more along the lines of what people in the shooting sports or recreational shooting are going to look for, instead of something that you can barely notice that it wobbled a little bit. You're kind of like, because when you're shooting, you got some recoil.
Right.
Did you really see it? How much did it wobble? How much did it move? It was tough to tell.
But if you knock a plate down,
knocking plates down, you know that you got hits.
Right.
And so that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I also like the ease of using 2x4s because of now that the Wuhan flu is essentially behind us, and 2x4 prices have gotten pretty much back to where they should be.
Yeah.
Grabbing a handful of 2x4s is not very expensive at all, and being able to relocate those easily is obviously an attractive option. This I don't know if she pronounced it. I forget. Lazarus. I think.
Lazarus. Yeah,
Lazarus,
that's what I wrote down at least.
That I don't want to talk about that too much because we're going to do a podcast with that individual.
Yeah.
So we can talk about his product with him. But these Throom Targets, the option to stand 7 or 5 yards away without having to worry about a ricochet or fragmentation, coming back and catching a cheek or, something in the forehead. I really like that option. Not that this is very scientific or anything. I love that color green. Like, it's just, it appeals to me. What I'm going to plan on doing is getting the set to set up the horses. I forgot what she called it. She did refer to it as something. It's on their website. And then I'm going to get several of the knockdown plates, and then I'm going to start there. And if I like a lot how they react, the way the durability of them and whatnot, I think then maybe a dueling tree and so on. Maybe even pick up 1 or 2 of the items they have on their website where when you have the crossbar for your plate rack, you can have a couple hanging.
Yeah, I see that.
I like that because some of the younger people that I take shooting, I think they'd enjoy shooting some 22s and seeing those things bounce around.
Yep.
A little bit. So there's a lot there that they have that's appealing to me, and I will be a customer of theirs before very long.
Yeah, but prices are pretty reasonable. You can get a set of those hang tufts, which are the ones you're talking about, that hang down, look almost like an inverted frying pan.
Mm-hmm.
So picture frying pans hanging from their handles. And then you would shoot at those, and then they have various sizes starting at 8 inches going down to 2 inches. You could pick up a set of those 2, 3 inch, 4 inch, 6 inch, and 8 inch for $124. $125. That's pretty reasonable stuff. I do remember that they're pretty honest about their durability. Like they can take a lot of hits and still react. So yeah, something to try out and add to the repertoire of things you could do, training and having fun out at the range.
Yeah, and obviously I joked a little bit about liking the color, which I do. It wasn't a joke, but I think also that I'm going to call it like alien green or nuclear green.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I think with how bright that is, when you start to get a little bit distance, if you're talking about a target that just moves as opposed to knock down, I think it'll be easier to see that target moving when it's that bright, because it's going to completely be accentuated by everything else around it. So I think seeing that target move would be pretty easy.
Yeah, I think the ones that were, if you look at their website, there's some that where the base of it's like the prairie dog figure. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that I have the most experience with. And those don't, I don't remember those, moving a ton, or if they do move a ton at first, they stop so quickly because they're kind of rigid. And so they move real fast, but then they're still right after that. And I just remember, not just me, I just remember shooters in general kind of noticing that and going, meh,
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have
with that specific style. Now the other styles, totally when you see that thing like the hang tough, you can see those, move quite a bit. So
what I was looking at when I was there with those that you just fasten down or tighten down to a board. Mm-hmm. One of the things I was thinking, because those the I'm going to call them the hold down screws that hold it down, they do prop it up in a pretty rigid fashion. Yeah. But if you leave those a little bit loose, there's probably going to be a little bit more room for movement because they're not going to be cinched down as firmly, maybe for a lack of a better word. But I'm anxious. I'm a little anxious to get those. I'm anxious for it to warm up around here. I want to get back out to the outdoor range that we like to go to, and I want to bring some of this out there because I think I'll enjoy it more than the steel plates that I have out there, just because of I like changing things around.
Yeah,
and I think changing things around with this will be much easier. And anything else on Throom?
No, I think we're good.